Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm circulating a letter tonight. It's going around. I have some deep concerns with what's going on in New York State. I know we've had this discussion in the past, but it really genuinely appears that our Second Amendment rights are under attack. Over the summer, there was a bill that was passed in both the State Assembly and State Senate that was struck down as unconstitutional as essentially a gun-grabbing measure. And then after it was struck down as unconstitutional, a new one was brought forth. So today I'm circulating the following letter. To Governor Captain Hochul, we, the various undersigned members of the Dutchess County Legislature, have with considerable concern followed the New York State Legislature's recent action on new firearm laws, Senate Bill S. 51001 and Assembly Bill A. 41001. Elements of those bills, which went into effect this past month, are injurious to the inalienable civil rights of New York and its people, including those in Dutchess County. These are not the principles the state was built on. It is the duty of New York State to uphold the freedoms of its citizens, and it is these values that make our nation, and this state in particular, a beacon for those overseas whose civil rights were trampled. Yet it seems this heritage of freedom is of little value in our state government today. The right of people to have personal protection in their lives is not a second-class right to be enjoyed only at the pleasure of our state government in Albany. As officials in other counties recently expressed to you, these bills represent an insufficiently thought out, poorly executed reaction to New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, Inc. versus Broom. They seek to make the U.S. Supreme Court's decision a dead letter by banning concealed carry in an unreasonable litany of public places, including all parks, restaurants, and places of worship. It will be a felony for anyone, even if he or she has a valid New York State concealed carry permit, to conceal carry in any of these places listed by this law. The law also suffers from cumbersome, confusing, and redundant barriers of compliances, as legislators from Greene County pointed out, and we echo their concern. Reports abound that the new laws do not provide clear guidance on compliance. Dueling legal interpretations have been issued by your office, legislative sponsors of the bills, and law enforcement agencies, which has led to an unnavigable maze of compliance for law-abiding citizens. There have been several cancellations of recent historical reenactment shows featuring historic, single-shot, muzzle-loading muskets because of worries sparked by this law. This law could have at least been clear and germane to actual criminal activity, but it is not. Our state deserves better policy. So I will be circulating that around, and I hope my fellow legislators will join me in signing. Thank you.
At this stage, we will open the floor to the public. You have 3 minutes. You can please come to the podium and introduce yourself. And again, you'll have 3 minutes. I will, at 2:45, I will give you the wrap up. So we would appreciate you sticking to the 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Contarino, and I'm here to address Governor Hochul's constant assault on the Second Amendment. She's supposed to be upholding the law of the land, not violating it. And the general consensus is that it's for public safety. Well, over here I have from PBS NewsHour, United States gun violence is number 20 on the list. This is from PBS NewsHour. Overall intended homicides number 64 in the world. It's nothing to brag about, but encumbering gun owners and condemning inanimate objects is not the way to go. I mean, they have floods of illegals coming over here, many of them very high on the list of gun violence. Does nothing about that other than to occur to here. We have turnstile courts, I mean, people get arrested and they're immediately re-released. How does that provide safety? There's Washington and Oregon a couple of years ago had upheavals, city areas were seized, burning, looting, crimes. It was called the Summer of Love. And worst of all, you have United States Senator Schumer advocating violence against Supreme Court justices. I mean, this is the government that's supposed to be protecting the people, not encouraging violence against the general public. And, this mentality of Hochul and her predecessor, King Henry VIII, where my will is a law, really is not the right way to go. I mean, most of these laws are passed through in the middle of the night with little or no discussion, their interests and the special interests that are encouraging them. So I encourage my fellow citizens to stand up against this, and any issue where this is just pushed through for special interests. I'll leave these two documents to the legislature. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
My name is Giovanni Mazzarelli. I'm a local chiropractor. I just want to come to support Will's message to Governor Hochul and to all you legislators here. I think we just moved away from the idea that we take an oath to uphold the Constitution, not trample upon it, and I think that should be something that should be held in higher regard. And when stuff like this is done, which is blatantly against our Constitution, I think we should kind of take some time back to reflect. Because where does this world go without any of this stuff matter? This stuff matters, right? I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a Second Amendment holder and a licensed pistol equipment holder. And last thing I need to have is a felony charge on me because of some silly, unconstitutional law. Thank you.
My name is Gina Liberti. I've been observing Kathy Hochul's behavior for some time. First, I was struck by the mandates forcing people to subject themselves to experimental gene therapies at the risk of losing their employment in violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 2331 and then subsection 802 of the U.S. Patriot Act. And inside there is a definition of domestic terrorism. Anytime a U.S. citizen or a government in the U.S. is forced to do something that it would not otherwise do, that's also not only coercion but domestic terrorism. The woman is in violation of this law. Then she does an end run around our legislature and tries to create internment camps where she would pick and choose who she thinks is at risk of hurting society without due process being put in these internment camps. And if it wasn't for the courageous act of Bobby Ann Cox, a lawyer in Long Island, in Westchester, this lawsuit would have moved, this lawsuit was found to be unconstitutional. Of course, it's now under appeal, so we need to be vigilant. But now we see that she's doing yet something else, which is against the rule of law, against the Constitution of the United States, and very much against the respect of New York citizens. And that is against our Second Amendment rights. I am gratified to hear that someone is standing up and coming up with a letter. I think it is important at this point that there needs to be a unified front from other counties to create a powerful unified message, which is this far, no farther.
My name is Dale Blue, and I also am here to support Representative Truitt's letter. I would encourage every one of this body to sign it. I agree with particularly 2 points in that letter. One, what has been done is unconstitutional. It doesn't take a lawyer to figure that out. Second, if the implementation has been very poor, I personally have spoken to my local police captain, chief, and he said that he has received no instruction on how to enforce this. So, again, Albany is failing. And the final thing I'd like to say is, coming to this meeting tonight, I'm not really familiar with downtown Poughkeepsie, probably parked a little further away than I want. And I was sorry I could not be carrying my pistol tonight. Thank you.
Really? This is
All right.
disgusting.
Point of order.
Yeah, we do not engage back and forth. Thank you.
My name is Philip Palazzotto. I'm a resident of the city of Poughkeepsie, and I'm also a licensed pistol permit holder. I'd like to read a letter from Reverend Bill Benucci, the Executive Director of New York Faith and Freedom Coalition. And it's addressed to William G. Truitt, Majority Leader, Dutchess County Legislature. Dear Mr. Truitt and concerned Dutchess County residents, the New York State Faith and Freedom Coalition, representing New Yorkers of faith from Buffalo to Montauk, hereby expresses a clear and unquestionable opposition to the recently enacted New York State Senate Bill S51001 and New York State Assembly Bill A41001, regulating legally authorized concealed carry gun permits and banning concealed carry in public. This bill is clearly unconstitutional as it plainly infringes on our right to bear arms. Furthermore, many of our members and church attendees have experienced the terror that strikes when a gun-wielding enemy of the church enters into a sanctuary to wreak havoc. This law would preclude clergy or attendees from carrying the very means needed to defend against such terror. These gun-free zones have proven to do nothing but to embolden the criminal to enter a sanctuary that he knows will be undefended and murder at will. This bill, however well-intended, will contribute to the next church shooting in New York State. God forbid it. New Yorkers must not let it happen. Respectfully, Reverend Bill Benucci.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Maloney, and I am a humble resident of Dutchess County these past 38 years. And I am here to discuss Governor Hochul's bills. All right, I came before you tonight to request that you request of Governor Hochul that she repeal bills 51,001, S51,001, and A41,001, which have been held as unconstitutional by federal courts. The purpose of these bills, although well-intended, will not achieve their worthy purpose of minimizing gun violence. Criminals, by definition, do not obey laws. Only law-abiding citizens do. It is not this It is not this law-abiding citizen who is perpetrating our current violent crime wave. S51,001 and A41,001 will only disarm the law-abiding citizens, leaving them at the mercy of the criminals. To continue to pursue the implementation of these laws in the face of the very real challenges yet to come will be an extremely costly, in terms of treasure and victims, and futile endeavor. The Second Amendment is quite clear in its statement that, quote, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That is the clearest statement in the Bill of Rights. That is not by not infringing, that means not to have the terms of that broken, nor limited, nor undermined. And that's as per the dictionary, okay? It is incumbent on you as our elected representatives to protect and fight for the rights of your constituents. I therefore request that you request Governor Hochul to repeal these bills and pursue other avenues to stem this violence. And there are other avenues. All right. How about sentencing criminals who use a gun in the commission of a crime to an additional 10 years? See how quickly gun violence ceases. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carmine Ortuono. I would like to also thank Mr. Truitt for writing that letter and putting that forth. I would strongly encourage the rest of the legislature to sign it and support it. I also am a Second Amendment supporter and a legal licensed gun owner.
And I think it's important that if we go through the process of obtaining a licensed pistol permit or anything of the such, we should not be considered criminals. You know, it's amazing that citizens that are following the law are being hamstrung to potentially defend themselves and their families, especially with the current climate we're seeing across our country with crime, and even in our state of New York. I also find it apprehensive and disgusting some of the legislators that decided to walk out and make a comment when a fellow citizen is representing themselves and using their First Amendment right of expressing themselves to defend their Second Amendment right. It's not the first time she's acted that way. I presented some information not too long ago in August to the legislator, and I seen very similar behavior and smirking. I think it's a shame, and I think it's totally disrespectful for our citizens. Thank you.